You won't believe what I captured in the Louisiana swamp. Clear footage of a massive creature that wasn't human, moving with terrifying intelligence and raw power. I was alone, cornered, and for a split second I thought it was about to dismember me right there on camera. If Bigfoot is real, why would it come this close? And what did it want from me? The swamp was quiet when I pulled onto the gravel road, the tires crunching over the loose stones. The air smelled like mud and wet leaves, and the fog hung low over the cypress trees, turning everything gray and heavy. I could hear the buzz of mosquitoes in my ears, and the soft drip of water from the Spanish moss that clung to the branches. I had been a sheriff in this county for almost 20 years, but even after all that time, the swamp still felt alive in a way that made your skin crawl. There was always something moving just out of sight, and tonight, for some reason, it felt closer than usual. I parked my truck near the old ranger station, the one that sat on the edge of the bayou, and shut off the engine. The world went quiet except for the soft splash of frogs and the occasional croak of a heron. The mist clung to the water like smoke, curling around the tree trunks. I had been called out here on a tip about missing hunters, but when I asked the local folks, they all gave me the same shrug and half smile. "You're chasing stories, Sheriff. Ain't it nothing out here but swamp and snakes?" But something in me didn't believe that. I'd seen tracks too big to be any man or deer, too strange to ignore. And tonight I had a feeling I was going to find out what's up. The ranger station door creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, the smell of mildew hit me first, then the faint aroma of old coffee. Dust motes floated in the air, catching the light from the single flickering bulb overhead. Maps were spread out on the counter, some old, some new, marking trails, hunters' cabins, and the few roads that cut through the swamp. I ran my hand over one of the maps, tracing the line of a muddy trail where the last tip said movement had been spotted. The paper felt soft under my fingers, damp from the humidity. I set up my handheld camera and my body cam before stepping back into the swamp. The moon was a thin sliver in the sky, barely lighting the way through the trees. Every step I took sank slightly into the wet soil, and the sound echoed louder than I expected. My flashlight cut through the mist, the beam bouncing off the trunks, highlighting twisted roots and fallen branches. I thought I saw shapes moving in the corners of my vision, but each time I turned, there was nothing. About 20 minutes in, I found the first sign that I wasn't imagining anything. A huge footprint pressed deep into the mud, toes long and splayed, claws digging in. It was larger than my boot by at least a third, and the stride between each print was long, steady. Not like an animal running, but like someone walking deliberately. My stomach went tight. I took a step back, careful not to disturb it. I crouched and ran my fingers around the edges, the mud cool and soft, almost like clay. I took a photo, but I already knew that no one would believe me. I stood and looked around. The trees felt taller here, closer, as if they were leaning in. The fog twisted around the trunks like smoke from a slow fire. Then I heard it, a low, deep sound that vibrated through the ground. Not a growl, not a roar, but a noise that felt alive, like something intelligent. I froze. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would echo through the swamp. The sound came again, a slow rumble that whooshed and fell, and I could feel the vibration in my chest. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. I took a careful step forward. My flashlight caught a movement between the cypress knees, a shadow that didn't belong to the trees. I froze again. It was gone the moment I blinked. Like it had melted into the fog, my fingers tightened on the camera, the leather strap digging into my skin. Every instinct told me to run back to the truck, but I stayed. I had to see what this was. I had to know. I followed the trail of prints slowly, trying not to snap a twig or disturb the mud. The sound came again, this time closer, like something heavy moving through the undergrowth. My boots sank into the mud with each step, and the cold seeped through my socks. The fog swirled at my ankles, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. I could smell the swamp, the wet earth, the rotting leaves, the faint tang of something animal, strong and musky. Then I saw it, just for a second, a dark shape moving between the trees. Big, taller than any man, broad shoulders. It froze when it noticed me, and I froze with it. I raised the camera, trying to keep my hands steady. Its eyes, or at least where I thought the eyes were, seemed to catch the light from my flashlight, dark and sharp, watching. Then it moved again, slipping silently through the fog, and I realized I wasn't just watching it, it was watching me. I stayed where I was, breathing slowly, telling myself it could be an animal, maybe a bear. But no bear moved like that. The prints, the sound, the way it watched me, it didn't match any bear I knew. I could feel it thinking, assessing, deciding. My body went tight, muscles ready to run, but my mind stayed locked on the camera. I had to get this on record. Had to prove it to myself first. I followed the edge of the swamp, careful not to lose sight of the prints. Every few steps, I glanced back, half expecting to see it behind me. The fog made the world small, like I was in a tunnel of gray and black. My flashlight caught more prints, some crushed leaves and broken branches, signs that whatever this was had passed through recently. The sound had stopped now, replaced by the soft croak of frogs and the rustle of leaves in the wind, but the air felt different, heavier, watching, waiting. I reached a small clearing near the edge of the bayou where the moonlight broke through the fog in thin lines. The prints led right into the water's edge, then stopped. I crouched and looked. The mud was disturbed as if something heavy had been standing there, studying me, deciding what to do. My chest tightened. I felt the eyes again, even though I couldn't see anything. My hands shook as I raised the camera and whispered into it, "If anyone ever finds this, you won't believe it." I stayed there for what felt like minutes but could have been hours. Then, from the trees behind me, came a sound I would never forget, a low, deep call, like a human trying to talk, but not quite. It rolled through the swamp, vibrating in the air in my chest. I jumped, spinning toward the sound, but the fog was thick. Nothing moved, but the feeling of being watched was stronger than ever. My skin crawled, my heart pounded. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on the space where I thought I had seen it. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves made me flinch. I told myself to stay calm, that I was a sheriff, that I had seen strange things before. But deep down, I knew this was different. Whatever had left those prints and made that sound wasn't just an animal, and it wasn't going to stay hidden forever. I made my way back to the truck, the fog thick around my legs. The swamp seemed to close in behind me, dark and full of eyes I couldn't see. When I reached the gravel road, I stopped, looked back, and thought I saw movement in the tree line, a shadow so big it made the trees look small. My hands went numb around the camera. I drove back slowly, headlights cutting through the fog, eyes darting to every dark shape along the road. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the camera close, replaying the sounds, studying the prints in my photos. By morning, I knew one thing for sure. I had seen something that wasn't human, and it had been watching me. Something big, intelligent, and dangerous, and it wasn't going away. The next night, I returned to the swamp, my flashlight and camera ready, my boots laced tight. The air was cooler now, damp with the swamp's mist. The trees seemed taller, darker, and the fog thicker, curling around every branch like it was alive. Every step into the swamp felt heavier, as if the mud itself was trying to pull me back. I could hear water dripping from the moss above, and the soft hum of insects filled the silence, louder than I expected. The swamp had a rhythm, a heartbeat, and tonight I was part of it. I followed the same trail as the night before, hoping to find more clues, to see something that would tell me what I was dealing with. The prints were still there, pressed deep in the mud, but they led deeper into the swamp now, where the trees grew closer together, and the light from my flashlight barely reached the ground. My chest tightened with every step. I felt watched, though I couldn't see anything. The fog swirled around my legs, sticky and cold, and my boots sank into the mud with each step. I was careful, slow, listening. A branch snapped behind me. My head jerked around, flashlight swinging. Nothing, just the trees swaying in the wind, though the air was still. I told myself it was a deer or a raccoon, but my gut twisted. The swamp had no ordinary animal moving like that. I held the camera closer, my fingers sweaty on the strap, My eyes scanned every shadow, every dark shape, waiting. Then I heard it again, a low, deep growl, almost a whisper, but heavy and threatening. My heart hammered in my chest. It wasn't a bear, and it wasn't human. I froze, every muscle tight, and listened. The growl came again, closer this time, echoing through the trees. I took a step forward, my boots squelching in the mud. The trail of prints led to a small clearing, and I could see something large moving behind the trees. My flashlight caught it for a second. Broad shoulders, dark fur, arms swinging with long, powerful strides. Its eyes, black and shiny, seemed to look right at me. I froze. It didn't move fast, but it didn't need to. It had a presence that filled the swamp, a weight that pressed down on me. I whispered to the camera, "I know you're there. I see you." My voice sounded small in the thick fog. The creature didn't respond with noise, but the air seemed to shift. I could feel its gaze, sharp and intelligent, following me. My legs felt like lead, my hands shaking. I told myself to stay calm, that I had faced dangerous people before, that I was trained. But this wasn't a man. This was something else entirely. It stepped into the clearing just for a second. I got a full view and my stomach dropped. It was massive, taller than a man by at least 2 heads, with long arms and huge hands that ended in claws. Its chest was broad, covered in dark, matted fur, and its movements were deliberate, like it knew exactly what it was doing. I tried to focus the camera on it, but my hands were shaking too much. The eyes were fixed on me, unblinking, and I could feel a deep, cold intelligence there. It was studying me, calculating, like I was prey. I took a step back, mud sucking at my boots, and it mirrored me. Not running, not chasing, just mirroring, like it was teaching me a lesson. The fog shifted around it, wrapping it in shadows, making it even bigger, more terrifying. I felt my heart pound so hard I thought it would burst. My mind raced. I had seen strange things before, but never like this. Every instinct told me to run, but another part of me was frozen, unable to look away. Suddenly, it moved, not running, just a slow, deliberate step toward me. The ground trembled slightly under its weight. I raised the camera and whispered, "Please, just leave me alone." The creature stopped for a moment, then tilted its head slightly, like it was considering my words. The swamp seemed to hold its breath. The wind died, the insects went silent, and the fog hung heavier than before. I could smell it now, a strong, musky odor that made my stomach turn. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on it. Every move I made, it mirrored toward, keeping the distance, but never letting go of my presence. My chest heaved with each breath. The prints I had been following ended here, but the creature wasn't leaving. I realized then that this wasn't a random encounter. It had been watching me all along, guiding me, leading me somewhere. My stomach turned. I had followed the trail willingly, but now I wondered if I had walked into a trap. A loud splash echoed from the bayou behind me. My head jerked toward the sound. Something else moved in the water. Something large. My flashlight caught a glimpse of it, a shadow half submerged, dark and massive. I froze. The creature in front of me growled softly, low and threatening, as if warning me not to turn around. My mind spun. There were more of them? Or was it playing with me? The creature stepped closer, its movements slow and controlled. I could hear the soft brush of leaves as it passed, the sound almost silent for something so big. My hands were shaking, but I kept the camera raised. I whispered again, "I'm just a sheriff. I don't want to hurt you." The air felt heavier, charged. My ears rang slightly, like the swamp was alive and speaking in its own language. The eyes of the creature locked on mine, and I knew it understood fear. I stumbled backward into a small dip in the swamp. My boots slipped in the mud, and I fell to my almost splashing water over my pants. The creature stopped at the edge of the dip, looming over me. I could see its chest rise and fall with each breath, strong and steady, while I struggled to catch mine. My flashlight beam shook across its face, catching glimpses of hair, muscle, and the sharp, intelligent eyes. I could feel its weight, the presence of it pressing down on me. Then it made a sound, not a growl, not a roar, but something deep and guttural, almost like a word but not human. I froze, my mind raced to understand. It was communicating, or maybe it was warning me. The swamp seemed to echo with the sound, vibrating through the fog. My body tightened, ready to bolt, but my curiosity held me in place. I had to know what it would do next. It moved again, closer now, deliberate and slow, every step measured. I could see the claws at the ends of its fingers, long and sharp, glinting faintly in the light. My stomach churned. The creature was testing me, watching my reactions. Every instinct screamed to run, but I couldn't. My mind was locked on it, trying to understand what it was, what it wanted. The fog swirled at its feet, making it seem like it was part of the swamp itself. I whispered into the camera, "If anyone sees this, you won't believe it. It's, it's alive, and it's watching." The creature tilted its head, and I thought I saw a flicker of something almost human in its expression. Then, with a sudden movement, it turned and disappeared into the fog, leaving the clearing silent. My heart pounded. I stayed there for minutes, listening to the swamp, the insects, the dripping moss, trying to be sure it was gone. But I knew it wasn't. Not really. I rose slowly, shaking, mud sticking to my knees and hands. The prints had resumed into the forest, deeper and darker than before. I could feel the eyes on me even though I couldn't see them. Something had been testing me tonight, guiding me, letting me survive just enough to follow. And I knew deep down this was only the beginning. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the creature standing in the clearing, its dark eyes fixed on me. My heart kept racing, and I kept hearing the soft brush of leaves, the snapping of twigs, even though I was safe in my small cabin. The swamp felt alive outside my window, whispering secrets I didn't want to hear. I tried to focus on my radio, hoping to hear another sheriff or ranger, but the static was all I got. I felt alone, and I knew that alone in the swamp meant danger. The next morning, I returned to the site with more gear. I brought extra flashlights, ropes, and a larger camera, determined to capture something definitive. The swamp seemed different in daylight. The fog had lifted, but the trees cast deep shadows that made everything look twisted and strange. The prints were still there, clear and deep, leading toward the thickest part of the swamp. The mud clung to my boots like glue, and every step left a wet, sticky mark. I tried to focus on the ground, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As I followed the trail, I noticed broken branches and bent reeds, signs of movement that were too deliberate to be natural. Birds flew off in a flurry, startled, and I froze, watching the swamp settle again. A sound came from the trees, a heavy thump, like something enormous walking on two legs. My flashlight swung, catching nothing but moss and shadows. Then it happened again, closer this time, and my stomach sank. The creature wasn't hiding anymore. It was following me, patient, waiting. I could almost hear it breathing behind the trees. I set the camera on a tripod in the clearing where I had first seen it. I wanted to get a good shot, evidence that I could show. I whispered into the lens, "I know you're there. I won't hurt you." The swamp was silent, almost eerily so. I waited, trying to steady my shaking hands. Then a low growl rumbled from the shadows. My body stiffened. The creature stepped into the clearing, slow and deliberate, each step pressing into the soft mud. Its eyes locked on mine, unblinking, filled with something ancient and powerful. I raised the camera, trying to keep it steady, but the fear made my hands tremble. The creature tilted its head, watching me, studying me. I could see the muscles in its arms, the way its legs moved, coiled with strength. Its fur was dark, matted in places, and I noticed scars along its shoulders and chest. Someone, or something, had survived battles, maybe with humans or other creatures. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I whispered, "I just want to understand. I don't want to hurt you." The creature growled again, a low sound that shook the swamp. Then it lunged, not fast, not reckless, but with deliberate force. I stumbled backward, mud spraying around my boots. My heart hammered, my chest heaving. It stopped just a few feet from me, towering, its claws glinting faintly in the filtered sunlight. I could feel the air shift around it, heavy and tense. The creature's eyes were black and deep, almost intelligent, almost human. I realized it wasn't attacking out of anger. It was testing me, deciding what I was worth. I tried to back away, but my boots sank into the mud, slowing me. The creature mirrored my every movement, blocking my path subtly like it was playing a game. I whispered, "I can leave. I'll go back." But it didn't budge. It tilted its head again, growling softly. I felt trapped, the swamp pressing in on all sides. My camera fell to the mud with a splash. I grabbed it, trying to keep it steady. The creature crouched slightly, eyes never leaving mine, as if it were calculating. A loud crack came from behind me. I spun around, flashlight swinging, and saw another figure, smaller, moving through the reeds. My heart jumped. Another one? Or was it a trick of the swamp? The creature in front of me growled sharply, stepping forward. My breath caught. Its claws scraped against a tree as it moved, leaving deep marks in the bark. I realized then that I was not just dealing with a wild animal. This was something intelligent, something that could plan, react, and intimidate with purpose. I stumbled backward into a narrow trench of water and mud. My boots sank deep, mud squelching around my ankles. The creature stepped closer, deliberately, each movement measured. I could smell it now, a strong, musky odor that made my stomach twist. Its breath was heavy, deep, and I could see its chest rise and fall with immense strength. I whispered again, my voice barely audible. "Please, don't hurt me." The eyes seemed to study my fear, almost tasting it. Suddenly, it raised one massive hand, slow and deliberate, and I froze. Its fingers, long and sharp, hovered near my shoulder. I could feel the power in that hand, the potential for destruction. My mind raced. I tried to move, but my boots were stuck in the mud. The swamp felt like it had closed in around me. Every instinct screamed to run, but I couldn't. My body was paralyzed with fear, yet my mind fought to stay alert. Then it happened. It lunged again, this time faster, swinging its arm toward me. I dove sideways, mud flying, barely avoiding the swipe. The creature roared, a sound so deep and terrifying it vibrated through my chest. I scrambled to my feet, slipping in the mud, and ran toward the edge of the clearing, hoping to escape into thicker trees. But the creature followed, slow and deliberate, each step heavy and echoing. I could hear its claws scrape the ground. I ducked behind a large cypress tree, heart pounding so hard it hurt. I could hear it circling, sniffing, listening, studying me. My hands clutched the camera like a lifeline. Every part of me wanted to flee, but I knew I had to stay calm. I whispered to myself, "You survive by staying calm. You survive by thinking." The creature moved closer, each step causing the ground to tremble. Its eyes, black and intelligent, never left mine. Then just as suddenly, it stopped. The swamp went quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind. Only the heavy breathing of the creature and my own. I knew in that moment that it had decided something, maybe mercy, maybe curiosity. It took a slow step back, lowering its massive frame slightly. Its eyes remained on me, and then without warning, it turned and disappeared into the swamp, vanishing into the fog and shadows like it had never been there. I stayed where I was for what felt like hours, mud covering my knees, shaking, exhausted. My chest heaved, but I could still hear the swamp around me, alive and humming. I knew the creature had let me live, but it had also left a warning. I picked up the camera, checking the footage. I had caught glimpses, brief moments of dark fur, glowing eyes, massive arms, but nothing clear. Not enough to prove what I had seen, but enough to know the truth. It was real, and it had the power to kill if it wanted to. I stood slowly, trying to steady myself. The prints in the mud led deeper into the swamp, into areas I wasn't brave enough to follow. My mind raced with questions, fear, and disbelief. I had faced many dangers in my life, but nothing like this. I knew now that the swamp had secrets I could never fully understand, and I knew deep down that my encounter with the creature was far from over. The swamp felt different that evening. The air was thick, heavy with mist, and every breath I took tasted of wet earth and decay. The sun had almost disappeared, leaving only a dull orange glow that barely lit the twisted shapes of the cypress trees. My boots sank deep into the mud as I moved slowly, every step careful. I could hear water dripping from leaves, frogs croaking somewhere unseen, and the distant howl of a wild dog, or maybe something else. My camera was strapped to my chest, recording everything. This time, I had to get the proof, even if it was the last thing I ever did. I followed the faint trail of broken branches, my eyes straining through the fog. The prints were fresh, deeper than before, and led toward a small clearing that I remembered from my first encounter. My heart pounded so loudly I thought the creature might hear it. I whispered to myself, "Stay calm, stay steady, just get the footage." The swamp was eerily quiet, almost as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something. I gripped the camera tighter, trying to keep my hands from shaking. The mud squelched under my boots, making every step a noisy struggle. Suddenly, a movement caught my eye. Something large shifted behind a tree. I froze, holding my breath. The creature stepped into the clearing, massive and dark, its fur slick with swamp water. Its eyes were locked on me, glowing faintly in the dim light. I could feel the power in its presence. Like the air itself had grown heavier. Every instinct in my body screamed to run, but I stayed rooted, barely daring to breathe. I raised the camera slowly, trying not to draw attention. The creature tilted its head, studying me like I was a puzzle. It stepped closer, and I could hear the soft crunch of mud under its enormous feet. My palms were sweaty, and the strap of the camera cut into my shoulder, but I kept filming. Its hands, massive with long, sharp claws, flexed slightly, and I could see the strength in every muscle. The air smelled of wet fur, musk, and the faint tang of blood from who knows where. My stomach twisted, and I swallowed hard, trying to focus on what I needed to capture. The creature crouched slightly, eyes never leaving mine. Then it let out a low, guttural growl that shook the fog around us. My heart raced, my chest heaving, and I knew I was closer to death than I had ever been. I whispered, "I don't want to fight, I just want to see you." But the sound of my own voice seemed to enrage it because it stepped faster, the ground trembling under each stride. My boots sank deeper into the mud as I stumbled back, slipping on a hidden root. The creature lunged toward me with terrifying speed, and I fell sideways, barely dodging the swipe of its claws. Mud splashed over me, cold and wet, and I scrambled to get up. The camera had fallen, and I grabbed it, raising it just as the creature roared again. Its chest heaved with strength, muscles rippling under dark matted fur. The roar echoed through the swamp, bouncing off the trees and water like a warning. I could feel the ground vibrate beneath me, the swamp itself trembling. It took a step back, sizing me up, then lunged again, faster, more deliberate. My boots sank into the mud, and I struggled to move. I could almost feel its claws brushing past me, just inches away. I ran toward a thick patch of reeds, hoping to find some cover. The creature followed, silent now, moving with terrifying precision. Its eyes never left mine, and I knew it was calculating, deciding what I was worth. I slipped again in the mud, falling hard, and felt my shoulder twist painfully. The camera clattered beside me, but I managed to keep it pointing at the creature. It was huge, taller than I remembered, its shadow stretching over me like a dark cloud. I tried to breathe slowly, quietly, telling myself to stay calm, but fear burned through me like fire, making my legs shake. Then it stopped. The swamp went completely still, the mist curling around us like smoke. The creature lowered itself slightly, crouching as if preparing for a final move. Its eyes were deep and black, unblinking, intelligent, ancient. I could see the claws on its hands, long and sharp, capable of tearing through anything. I realized then that this was not just a wild animal. It was something more, something that could think, plan, and kill with purpose. I whispered, "I won't fight you. I just need to know you're real." The creature tilted its head slowly, studying me. Suddenly it charged, not with wild, uncontrolled force, but with calculated speed. I scrambled to my feet, mud and water flying, heart hammering in my chest. The camera swung wildly as I ran, barely keeping it trained on the creature. Its roar filled the swamp, louder than any sound I had ever heard, reverberating through my bones. I stumbled over a root, crashing into a shallow pool of water, mud covering me from head to toe. I looked up just in time to see the creature raise its massive hand, claws glinting in the dying light. I ducked, narrowly avoiding the swipe. The creature growled, low and menacing, circling me like a predator. Every instinct told me to run, but there was nowhere to go. The clearing was small, enclosed by trees and reeds. The swamp had trapped me. I could feel its hot breath, smell its musk, taste the fear in the air. My hands gripped the camera, shaking, but I kept filming. I needed this. I needed proof. The creature lunged again, faster, its claws slicing the air near my shoulder. I twisted, falling backward into the mud, and barely managed to roll out of reach. The camera caught the movement. The swing of massive arms, the shadow over me. My heart raced, lungs burning, but I knew I couldn't give up. This was the moment that mattered. This was the footage that would tell the world what I had seen. Then in a moment of terrifying clarity, it froze. Its eyes locked on mine, and for a heartbeat, the swamp seemed to hold its breath. I could see every detail, the muscles in its arms, the way its claws glinted, the scars along its chest, the intelligence in its gaze. It was powerful, ancient, and deadly, yet there was something almost human in the way it regarded me. My mind raced. Could it understand me? Could it decide not to kill me? I whispered, "I won't fight. I just want you to exist." Slowly it turned, stepping back into the shadows. The swamp swallowed it again, mist curling around its enormous frame. I stayed frozen, mud soaking my clothes, heart pounding, ears ringing. The prints in the mud led away, disappearing into the darkness. I sat there for what felt like hours, breathing heavily, shaking all over. My camera had captured glimpses, glowing eyes, massive arms, the terrifying intelligence of a creature beyond comprehension. When I finally stood, I looked around the swamp, realizing I had survived. But I also knew that this creature was still out there, watching, waiting. The footage on my camera would show the world something unbelievable, something they would either deny or fear. I wiped mud from my face, hands trembling, and whispered to myself, "It's real, and it's still out there." The swamp was quiet again, but I knew it was only a matter of time before the next encounter. And deep down I wondered, if I had been slower, braver, or careless, would I have made it out alive at all?